Shuri was desperately trying to recreate the legendary heart-shaped herb using science. King T'Challa was dying from an incurable illness, and she believed a synthetic version of the herb could still save his life. Working alongside her AI assistant, Griot, she pushed herself to finish the formula. But before she could, Queen Ramonda entered the lab with devastating news. T'Challa was gone. Shuri couldn't believe it. Completely heartbroken, she watched as all of Wakanda gathered to honor their fallen king during his funeral. 1 year later, with T'Challa gone, Ramonda had become queen once again. But Wakanda now faced a serious problem. There was no Black Panther left to protect the kingdom. Meanwhile, at a United Nations meeting in Switzerland, several world leaders accused Wakanda of refusing to share vibranium despite its promises to help the world. Ramonda firmly replied that Wakanda had never intended to trade vibranium because the rest of the world couldn't be trusted with such dangerous power. She also revealed that several countries had secretly attacked Wakandan facilities, believing the nation had become weak without Black Panther. But they were wrong. General Okoye and her warriors had defeated every intruder and captured them alive. The captured soldiers were brought into the meeting as proof, before Ramonda issued one final warning. If anyone tries to steal Wakanda's resources again, they will face severe consequences. Meanwhile, a US research team was drilling deep beneath the ocean, convinced that vibranium existed outside Wakanda. When their drill struck an unknown metal, they used a specialized vibranium detector to confirm their discovery. Just then, every light suddenly went out. Namor and his underwater warriors had arrived. The researchers had unknowingly entered his kingdom. Determined to keep his civilization a secret, Namor attacked the entire team. As one officer tried escaping by helicopter, Namor flew after it and destroyed it within seconds. Back in Wakanda, Ramonda visited Shuri, who had buried herself in developing new weapons and advanced technology. When Ramonda asked about the synthetic heart-shaped herb, Shuri replied that Wakanda needed technology, not another Black Panther. But Ramonda disagreed. She believed Black Panther had always united Wakanda's tribes. Shuri, however, rejected those traditions. She admitted she had recreated the herb only to save her brother, not to continue the Black Panther legacy. Since it had been 1 year since T'Challa's death, Ramonda took Shuri to a peaceful riverside, where she encouraged her to finally let go of her grief. She even handed Shuri the white mourning clothes from T'Challa's funeral, explaining that burning them symbolized the end of mourning. But Shuri couldn't accept that. "If I burn these, I'll burn the whole world." Suddenly, a mysterious man descended from the sky. Neither Ramonda nor Shuri could understand how he had entered Wakanda undetected. The stranger introduced himself. "My people call me Kukulkan. My enemies call me Namor." He revealed that American forces had discovered vibranium inside his hidden kingdom, forcing him to eliminate them to protect his people. Now, another threat had appeared. An American scientist had invented a machine capable of locating vibranium anywhere on Earth. At first, Ramonda didn't believe him, but when Shuri noticed Namor wearing vibranium, she realized he was telling the truth. Namor blamed Wakanda for exposing the true value of vibranium to the world. Because of that, every nation had started searching for it. He demanded that Wakanda find the scientist who created the vibranium detector and hand them over to him. Otherwise, he would destroy Wakanda. Namor warned that his army was powerful enough to wipe out entire nations, claiming each of his warriors was worth 100 ordinary soldiers. Before leaving, he handed them a mysterious seashell. "If you find the scientist, blow this." He also warned them never to reveal his existence to anyone outside Wakanda. After he disappeared, Shuri noticed he had intentionally left the vibranium detector behind, giving her a chance to study it. The next day, Queen Ramonda gathered Wakanda's tribal leaders, including M'Baku. Unlike the others, M'Baku refused to bow to Namor's demands. He argued that if Wakanda obeyed him once, there would be no guarantee he wouldn't make even greater demands later. In his opinion, Namor had to be stopped. Meanwhile, Shuri carefully examined the vibranium detector. She confirmed that the machine actually worked and could accurately detect vibranium by tracking its unique energy signature. Whoever built it was clearly a genius. Some of its parts came from scrap materials, while others had been custom built from scratch. When Okoye wondered how vibranium could exist outside Wakanda, Shuri explained that another meteor carrying vibranium could have crashed somewhere else long ago. Okoye then volunteered to find the scientist responsible for the device. However, she needed Shuri's help. Ramonda hesitated, fearing Namor might target her daughter. But Okoye promised to protect Shuri at all costs and insisted that leaving Wakanda would do her some good. Eventually, Ramonda agreed. Soon, Shuri and Okoye secretly met CIA agent Ross in the forest. They asked him about the scientist who had invented the vibranium detector. Ross first questioned them about the attack on the US mining vessel. Okoye denied Wakanda's involvement, but refused to reveal who was actually responsible. Although disappointed, Ross realized the situation was serious. Shuri explained that they had to find the scientist before another disaster happened. Ross finally revealed the truth. The inventor wasn't an experienced government scientist. She was a young MIT student, Riri Williams. Shuri was stunned. At MIT, Riri was known as an engineering prodigy. She was so talented that she even earned money by building projects and completing assignments for other students. Soon, Shuri and Okoye arrived on campus. Queen Ramonda called with one clear order: no matter what happens, bring the girl safely to Wakanda. When Shuri entered Riri's dorm room, Riri immediately recognized her as the Princess of Wakanda. Shuri asked about the vibranium detector. Riri explained that she had never built it for the CIA. It had started as a class project because one of her professors underestimated her abilities. So she built the impossible in just 2 months. Shuri warned her that she was no longer safe and needed to come to Wakanda immediately. At first, Riri thought Wakanda wanted to arrest her and tried to escape. Okoye blocked her path, but Riri still refused to cooperate. Instead, she grabbed nearby objects and started fighting back. Shuri finally told her the truth. Your life is in danger, and when those underwater warriors come after you, you'll be on your own. That instantly changed Riri's mind. She agreed to leave, but first wanted to grab something from her garage. Unfortunately, the FBI surrounded the entire area. They had already figured out why Wakanda was there. Frustrated, Riri blamed Shuri for dragging her into the mess. Realizing they were trapped, Shuri told everyone they needed to split up. Then Riri revealed her secret. She had built her own flying armored suit, a suit that looked remarkably similar to Iron Man's. Shuri could hardly believe it, but seconds later, Riri blasted into the sky and flew away. Okoye and Shuri escaped using a car and a motorcycle, while FBI agents chased them through the city. Using advanced surveillance drones, the FBI tracked their every move. Seeing the drones overhead, Riri flew high into the sky in her homemade armored suit and destroyed them one by one. For a moment, it looked like they had escaped, but suddenly, an unseen force attacked. Their vehicles crashed violently, leaving Shuri and Riri unconscious. As someone dragged Riri toward the water, Okoye quickly cut the cable, pulling her away. Then, Namor's warriors emerged from the ocean. Among them were his 2 deadliest fighters, Atuma and Namora. Okoye stood alone against them to protect Shuri. She fought Atuma with everything she had, but his strength was overwhelming. Even after refusing to back down, Namora blasted her with a powerful water bomb that knocked her into the water. Just then, Shuri regained consciousness. Realizing she couldn't win, she pleaded with them not to hurt Riri. I'm the Princess of Wakanda. I want to speak with Namor. Atuma accepted her request. Instead of killing them, Namor's warriors took both Shuri and Riri away. Okoye could only watch helplessly as they disappeared beneath the sea. The following day, Agent Ross arrived at the crash site. The FBI believed Wakanda was responsible for the attack. Soon, the agency's new director, Valentina, who also happened to be Ross's ex-wife, arrived to investigate. Before anyone noticed, Ross secretly recovered one of Shuri's kimoyo beads from the scene. Back in Wakanda, Okoye reported everything to Queen Ramonda. She warned everyone that Namor's army was far stronger than they had imagined and begged for another chance to rescue the princess. But Ramonda was devastated. She had already feared Namor would target Shuri and had warned Okoye not to take her outside Wakanda. Blaming her for Shuri's disappearance, Ramonda stripped Okoye of her rank as general and removed her from the Dora Milaje. Heartbroken, Okoye quietly walked away. Meanwhile, Ramonda used the kimoyo beads to track Shuri's location. Instead, the signal connected to Ross. He explained that he had found the beads at the crime scene and asked if Riri was safe. Ramonda revealed that Shuri had also been kidnapped while trying to protect her. Ross admitted that the US government now believed Wakanda had abducted Riri, and they also suspected he had leaked her identity. Even so, he promised to help. Ramonda warned him that they were facing a powerful new enemy, but couldn't reveal anything more. Soon after, Ramonda traveled to Haiti to meet Nakia, who had been living there for the past 6 years, teaching children at a local school. She asked why Nakia had never attended T'Challa's funeral. Nakia confessed that saying goodbye would have been too painful. Ramonda gently reminded her that no matter where she lived, Wakanda would always be her home, and that death wasn't the end. but the beginning of a new journey. Then she revealed the real reason for her visit. Shuri had been taken. She needed Nakia to bring her back. Without hesitation, Nakia agreed. Meanwhile, deep beneath the ocean, Shuri and Riri were being held inside Namor's hidden underwater kingdom. As Namor showed Shuri around, her eyes fell on an ancient bracelet resting on a nearby table. He quietly told her, "It belonged to my mother." Examining it closely, Shuri realized it was over 1,500 years old. She looked at Namor in disbelief. "Wait, have you really been alive for that long?" Namor revealed that his story began over 450 years ago, around 5071. Back then, his mother was an ordinary human. When Spanish conquistadors brought disease, famine, and destruction to their homeland, his people were forced to abandon everything they had. According to Namor, one of their ancestors received a vision from their moon god, who led them to a mysterious blue plant growing beneath the ocean. Believing it was their only chance to survive, the villagers consumed the plant. At the time, Namor was still in his mother's womb. She hesitated to drink it, fearing it might harm her unborn child. But after his father convinced her to trust their god, she finally accepted. Before drinking the plant, his father crafted a bracelet from its fibers and placed it on her wrist. Moments later, the plant transformed all of them. They could no longer breathe air. Forced into the ocean, they discovered they could now breathe underwater and had evolved into an entirely new civilization. Far away from war and disease, they finally found peace. Months later, Namor was born. Unlike everyone else, he was a unique hybrid. His pointed ears and winged ankles allowed him to breathe both underwater and on land. He also aged incredibly slowly, which was why he had remained alive for centuries. Years later, when his mother passed away, her final wish was to be buried on the surface. While honoring that wish, Namor returned to their old homeland, only to find Spanish soldiers brutally oppressing the local people. When they attacked him, he slaughtered every one of them. As one dying priest called him a merciless child, the name Namor was born. After sharing his past, Namor used advanced technology to take Shuri on a tour of his underwater kingdom, Talokan. Shuri was amazed. The hidden city was peaceful, beautiful, and thriving beneath the ocean, with Namor ruling over its people. He told Shuri she was the first person from the surface ever allowed to see Talokan. As a sign of trust, he even gave her his mother's bracelet. The gesture deeply moved Shuri. She admitted that, despite Wakanda's incredible technology, she had still failed to save her brother. Namor understood that pain. "My ancestors believed, those who are broken often rise to become something greater." Shuri appreciated his words, but made one thing clear. She would never allow him to kill Riri. As the princess of Wakanda, she refused to leave without her. She hoped they could still find a peaceful solution. But Namor explained that Riri wasn't the real problem. The real enemy was the greedy world above, where powerful nations had spent centuries exploiting innocent people for valuable resources. Ever since becoming king, he had prepared Talokan for the war he believed was inevitable. Now he needed one answer. Would Wakanda stand beside him or against him? His goal was nothing less than conquering the surface world. When Shuri called it madness, Namor gave her a chilling warning. If Wakanda refused his alliance, Riri would die, and Wakanda would become his first target. Meanwhile, Nakia successfully tracked Shuri's location using her Kimio beads. With help from Shuri's AI, Griot, she secretly reached the entrance to Talokan aboard a specialized underwater craft. Sneaking inside the prison cave, Nakia silently eliminated one of the guards, rescued both Shuri and Riri, and escaped with them aboard a Wakandan ship. Queen Ramonda was overjoyed to see her daughter alive, but that happiness didn't last long. When Namor discovered that one of his warriors had been killed during the rescue, his patience finally ran out. He immediately began preparing his army for war against Wakanda. Back in Wakanda, Shuri immediately prepared the kingdom for Namor's attack. She deployed powerful sonic devices around the city, hoping they would weaken Talokan's underwater warriors. But it wasn't enough. Namor's army still breached Wakanda's defenses and launched a full-scale invasion. Chaos spread across the city. Shuri and Aneka, one of the Dora Milaje's elite warriors, took to the skies to fight back. Meanwhile, Talokan soldiers used their hypnotic singing to lure Wakandan warriors toward the water. Just before more lives were lost, Ayo blasted the hypnotized enemies with explosives, stopping the attack. Elsewhere, M'Baku charged straight at Namor, but Namor's strength was overwhelming. With a single strike, he sent M'Baku flying and knocked him unconscious. Shuri and Aneka immediately joined the fight, but Namor effortlessly destroyed their aircraft, using his incredible speed and flight. Thankfully, Nakia arrived just in time and pulled them to safety aboard her ship. Meanwhile, Namor reached the royal palace, where Queen Ramonda and Riri were trapped. he unleashed a massive water blast that flooded the entire chamber. Ramonda regained consciousness underwater and saw that Riri was still unconscious. Without hesitation, she pushed Riri toward safety. The rescue cost Ramonda her own life. Okoye and Nakia arrived moments too late. Riri survived, but Queen Ramonda drowned. Shuri was devastated. Before leaving, Namor delivered one final warning. He would return in 1 week with his entire army. Wakanda could either join him in conquering the surface world or be destroyed along with it. Then, looking at Shuri, he quietly said, "Honor your mother. You are queen now." With that, he disappeared beneath the ocean. Soon after, Wakanda held Queen Ramonda's funeral. After losing both her brother and now her mother, Shuri was completely broken. Later, M'Baku approached her for guidance. Thousands of Wakandans had lost their homes during the attack and were seeking refuge in the Jabari Mountains. Shuri advised him to welcome them. If you protect them now, they'll never forget it. M'Baku agreed, and the Jabari tribe opened its doors to everyone in need. Meanwhile, in the United States, Valentina discovered that Agent Ross had secretly been feeding information to Wakanda. He was immediately arrested. Back in her lab, Shuri made a life-changing decision. To protect Wakanda, she would finally become the next Black Panther. Using fibers from Namor's mother's bracelet, along with T'Challa's genetic data, she attempted to recreate the heart-shaped herb once again. Since the original plant had grown from vibranium-rich soil, she believed its structure could be replicated. This time, the experiment worked. While Griot completed the process, Riri joined Shuri in the lab. She blamed herself for Queen Ramonda's sacrifice and promised to help defeat Namor. Together, they discovered something important. Unlike the rest of Talokan's people, Namor could survive both underwater and on land. His body functioned more like a jellyfish, allowing him to breathe through his skin. That meant extreme heat and dehydration could weaken him. Using that discovery, Shuri asked Riri to build a specialized aircraft capable of drying Namor out during battle. At the same time, Riri began building her new Iron Heart armor, while Shuri equipped Okoye with an advanced combat suit, transforming her into the Midnight Angel. Finally, the synthetic heart-shaped herb was complete. As it began glowing, Nakia smiled with relief. Shuri drank the herb and entered the ancestral plane. But instead of seeing her parents, or T'Challa, she came face to face with Killmonger. Because deep inside, Shuri's heart wasn't filled with peace. It was consumed by revenge. Killmonger told her they were more alike than she wanted to admit. Just as he had avenged his father, she wanted revenge for her mother. Moments later, Shuri awakened. When Nakia asked who she had seen, Shuri refused to answer. She quietly claimed she hadn't met anyone. Frustrated, she punched a training dummy. It flew across the room. At that moment, she realized the heart-shaped herb had worked. She had finally become the new Black Panther. Shuri made a breathtaking entrance in her new Black Panther suit. Everyone stood in shock. To confirm that the heart-shaped herb had truly worked, M'Baku challenged her to a test of strength. Within seconds, Shuri overpowered him with ease. That was all the proof Wakanda needed. Their Black Panther had finally returned. Shuri then revealed her plan. Namor believed Wakanda was broken. That false confidence would become his greatest weakness. Instead of waiting for another attack, Wakanda would lure him into the open ocean and strike first. M'Baku wasn't convinced. Even if they killed Namor, his people worshipped him as a living god. His death could start an endless war. Later, Shuri admitted to M'Baku that Namor would never stop. He intended to wage war against the entire surface world. As far as she was concerned, he had to die. The next day, Wakanda's fleet sailed into the Atlantic Ocean. Before leaving, Nakia quietly confronted Shuri. She realized Shuri had met Killmonger in the ancestral plane. Nakia warned her that revenge would never fill the emptiness left by losing her family. It would only leave her feeling even more alone. But Shuri simply replied, "I've already lost everything." Meanwhile, Wakanda activated the vibranium detector to lure Namor into their trap. As soon as he appeared, their cloaked warship became visible and launched a surprise attack. Namor immediately fought back, tearing through Wakandan ships with incredible force. At the same time, Riri arrived in her brand new Ironheart armor and joined the battle. Soon, Talokan's warriors climbed aboard the ship, forcing the Dora Milaje into brutal hand-to-hand combat. Following the plan, Riri kept pressuring Namor until she successfully trapped him inside a specialized aircraft. Shuri climbed in with him and activated a powerful heating system. The extreme heat began drying Namor out, weakening him. Seeing their king captured, M'Baku ordered the fleet to head toward land, but Talokan responded immediately. Giant whales rammed the Wakandan ship, causing massive damage as Namor's warriors launched another assault. Outnumbered, Wakanda began losing the battle. That's when Okoye arrived wearing her powerful Midnight Angel armor, alongside Anika, turning the tide of the fight. Even while weakened, Namor refused to surrender. He destroyed the aircraft with his spear, sending both himself and Shuri crashing into the desert. The final battle had begun. At first, Namor dominated the fight, but Shuri managed to break one of the wings on his ankle, making him even weaker. Elsewhere, Ironheart defeated Namora, while Okoye finally overcame Atuma. Still, Talokan's army continued surrounding the remaining Wakandan forces. Meanwhile, Namor landed a devastating blow, driving his spear straight through Shuri. Any ordinary person would have died, but fueled by pure determination, Shuri snapped the spear in half and pulled herself free. Then she turned Namor's own weakness against him. Using the burning wreckage of the aircraft, she blasted him with intense heat, leaving him barely able to stand. Shuri raised her spear, ready to end his life, but at the last second, she remembered the peaceful lives both Wakandans and Talokan had before the war. Then she heard her mother's voice. "Show him who you truly are." Instead of choosing revenge, Shuri chose mercy. She told Namor that hatred had already taken too much from both of them. If the war continued, countless innocent people would keep dying. For the sake of his people, he should surrender. After a long silence, Namor finally gave in. Just as Talokan's warriors were about to kill the remaining Wakandans, Shuri returned with Namor alive. Seeing their king surrender, Namor ordered his army to stand down. The war was finally over. M'Baku, Okoye, and the rest of Wakanda realized that Shuri hadn't just become the new Black Panther, she had become the leader Wakanda truly needed. After the battle, Wakanda finally returned to peace. Life slowly went back to normal, and Shuri successfully grew the synthetic heart-shaped herb in a new garden, ensuring that the Black Panther legacy would never disappear again. Before Riri returned home, Shuri thanked her for everything. However, she explained that the Ironheart armor had to remain in Wakanda. Riri understood. Instead, Shuri surprised her with something even better. She had completely rebuilt Riri's old car, which had been destroyed during their escape from the FBI. Riri was overwhelmed with emotion. She revealed it was the last gift her father had ever given her. Meanwhile, Agent Ross was being transported to prison for secretly helping Wakanda. Before he could be locked away, Okoye appeared. She effortlessly took down the officers escorting him and rescued Ross. Later, Shuri traveled to Haiti to visit Nakia. Finally ready to let go of her grief, she burned the white mourning clothes from T'Challa's funeral, honoring both her brother and her mother, while finding the peace she had been searching for. It was the first time she truly accepted their loss. The post-credit scene revealed one final surprise. Nakia introduced a young boy to Shuri. Then she revealed the truth. He was her and T'Challa's son. His name was Toussaint. Shuri was completely speechless. She had never known her brother had a child. Nakia explained that they had kept his existence a secret because T'Challa wanted his son to grow up away from the pressures of the Wakandan throne and experience a normal childhood. She also revealed that Queen Ramonda had already met him before she died. Toussaint happily greeted his aunt. Then he shared one final secret. "Toussaint is just my Haitian name. My real name is Prince T'Challa."